If you live in a country that has a higher inflation rate than 20%, this video is for you. If you live in a country that their inflation rate is over 20%, in Sudan, Turkey, Nigeria, Ghana, any country that your inflation rate is over 20%, you're looking for what to do with your money, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what inflation rate is, how does it affect you, should you even put your money inside your traditional normal bank, and then if there's actually a solution to this problem. Now, let's start with the most important thing. What is inflation? Inflation is the rate of change of price of an asset with respect to time. Let me explain. You have $100,000, let's just say dollars. You live in somewhere like Argentina. You're using 100,000 Argentinian dollars. But now, here's the catch. Argentina has an inflation of about 40%. That's 40%. So what that means is that if you have $100,000 Argentinian dollars this year, by this time next year, what will happen is that $100,000 will lose 40% of its value. That means that $100,000 will now be worth $60,000, but it will still be $100,000 in your account. What it means is that your $100,000 will have the purchasing power of $60,000, even though it is still $100,000 that is in your account. So with that being said and done, you understand that leaving your money in the bank is a bad idea. Like leaving your money for savings in the bank is like a bad idea, especially if you're saving for the long term. If you're saving for short term goals, like your goals are within this year, then no wahala, you can leave your money in the bank. There's no issue. But if you're saving for like the next 5 years, 10 years, an asset you want to buy or land or an investment you want to make, then keeping that money inside the bank is a bad idea. Even if you're just saving for retirement or college, whatever it is, keeping the money in the bank is a bad idea. So, is there any solution? I would say yes. Consider investing your money in the stock market, which will give you a higher return on investment over time, like the S&P 500, which will definitely give you a higher return on investment over time, so that your money will grow and accumulate over time. But here's the issue. Even if you put your money in the stock market and it generates, let's just say 50% return that year, does not really happen. I don't know if it has happened before, but it generates 50% return that year. If your country's inflation rate is still 40%, that means even though you gain 50% of your money like extra, that 40% inflation on your currency means that the currency has lost 40% of its value. So if you put, like, let's just say you put 1 million Argentinian dollars inside the S&P 500 and the S&P 500 really overperformed, and then you made 1.5 million Argentinian dollars. But now here's the issue. Your currency, your country still has inflation rate of 40%. That means you didn't actually make $150,000. I mean $1.5 million. What happened is that you actually have $1.5 million in your this thing investment account, but the actual value of that 1.5 million can only buy something worth of 1.1 million, because 40% of the value has been removed due to inflation. That is the issue. Country with a high inflation rate. So is there actually a better solution? Well, yes, of course. This is my own solution. I say, instead of stressing yourself and doing all these things, just convert your money to any currency that has a low inflation rate. Even if a country has inflation rate of 2%, let's just say like US now, USA has inflation rate of about 2%. So that means if you have $100 in USA, by this time next year, what you have is $98, because the purchasing power reduces by 2%. But it's better for your money to have a purchasing power that reduces by 2% rather than having a purchasing power that reduces by 40%. percent. Zero 40%. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, my bad. 40% every year. So it's better that you lose 2% of the USA dollar than lose 40% of its exact Argentinian dollar equivalent. Do you understand? So now you can convert that money to the USA dollar or the Great Britain pound or Sierra Leone currency. I don't even know what it is. But the point is, if you convert it to it, you're safer. This will keep you in a defensive side because your money won't be losing value as fast as your own currency's money. Now, what else? If that is the case, what do you do next? You can still now use that same amount, use that money that you've converted in dollar, Britain pound, and you can invest that very amount as Britain pound or dollar into the S&P, into the stock market or the S&P 500. Let me just use S&P 500 here. I'll explain what it is in a later video. So now you put it in the stock market, S&P 500, my bad. Put it in the S&P 500. What happens is that even if the S&P 500 makes 10%, 10% gain, 10% gain this year, what it means that you put $100, let's just say you put $100, yes, inside the S&P 500 and makes 10% gain. What happens is that you get $110 as your gain. And the US loses has a 2% inflation rate. So what actually happens is that you actually gain 108 because 10 minus 8 is 2. Yes. So you gain $108 every year, which is actually better than gaining 50% of Argentinian dollars and then losing 40% of its value. Just saying. So that is just the point. And it is a lot smarter and a lot better. Also, if you liked this video, you can put a thumbs up, subscribe. In my next video, I'll be explaining why you shouldn't put your money in a high interest savings account if you live in a high inflation country or a country. I'll upload that maybe next week or next 2 weeks. So stick around. I don't know. Bye. Peace.